All right. So welcome to this talk. Actually, you will be today learning about our success factors of our implementation methodology. My name is Valentin Gailly. I'm here a business analyst in the business service team here in Belgium, Odoo, Belgium. So most of my missions are mainly to implement clients and mostly focusing on SMEs. So the first thing I would like to cover today would be just raising a question is why do we need to have an implementation methodology? We already have the best product, you have seen it, it's the keynote. So the question is, okay, why do we need an implementation methodology? Let me give you a few numbers to answer that question. Did you know that 50% of ERP implementations are failing on the market? That's huge, right? Based on studies, we have seen that in the book as well. And most of the reason behind all these failures is mostly because people are not always prepared to make such transition. They consider this as a side project for the company, but they do not really take like all the stake that it needs, right? It's often also seen as too costly. I will see that specifically for SMEs. And this is bringing me also to take you to the second number we have. As of today, only 18% of SMEs have an integrated system. That's really low, but actually it's also a very good opportunity for you as partners or maybe clients also to thrive on the market. So let's see this as a challenge and opportunity, definitely. All right, so this brings me to explain you the agenda for today. So we'll first start with what is a successful project? Okay, so that's mainly the main question we have. Then we'll cover the roles, responsibility, and mindset you need to have for an implementation methodology. We'll then later on discuss about the project phases. We've already seen one as with Nicola, the kickoff side. We'll see that we actually have 4 main phases. Right? Then we'll cover a bit the challenges. We'll see that we have plenty of challenges relating to an ERP implementation. We'll mostly cover 2 of them. And then we'll ending with a few key takeaways. Right? Hope that this is already a good agenda for you. In case you have questions during the session or for the talk, don't hesitate to actually scan the QR code you have here. I'll be happy to answer these questions at the end of the talk. And if we don't have enough time, I'll be also present at the booth at the Testor Services table, which is situated in the 7th hall here in front of us. Right? Okay, so what is a successful project? Well, here at Odoo, we used to take only 5 words to answer that question. Will be then just a project that is on time and on budget. I see my manager right there is putting me a big thumb, so it seems that I'm the right way. So delivering a project on time and on budget. It seems quite generic, okay? I mean, everybody and every company wants to go to that point, right? But we see that most of services companies are not always focusing on being on time and on budget, but rather on the client satisfaction. And this is often bringing also more the short-term vision of things. And so I tend to say, okay, they don't really challenge the clients. They don't really, ask if this is something really needed for the project. Okay, what is blocking your company from moving forward and all of that? They don't often spend time on that. And this is really, let's say, the mindset we need to have when we talk about implementation methodology. All of that, we will see that this will go then toward having a project delivered on time and on budget. Of course, people need to use it, the project, but I mean, if we consider this as a successful project, then it should be on time and on budget. All right, so let's speak about the roles and the responsibilities. So who is taking part of the project? I see that this was a question that was raising up also during the kickoff session we had this morning. So who will be participating to different meetings and all that? So this is a bit the purpose of this slide. I see we don't see the shades of color, but well, it's okay. What we can see here is that we have 2 main teams, I would say, part of an implementation project. We have on the left side the integrators, so mostly Odoo services, partners, etc. And of course, on the right side, then the client. We need the clients to be able to move forward and have a right implementation. Okay. So we see that for each of them, we have 3 different lines. We have project manager, Odoo expert, and transition expert. So you might feel, okay, we need 3 different people there. No, we actually need every part of the team should have these capacities. So if you have a project with 1 person, it will need to be project manager, Odoo expert, and transition expert. Why do I mention this? Actually, I've discussed with a lot of partners this year, and a lot of them were telling me yeah, we have project managers, but they don't really know well Odoo, but they will manage the client, know a bit about the phasing and all of that. But how can you really bring a lot of value to the project and knowing how to phase things if you don't know Odoo yourself? All right, so this is actually taking these three capacities to be able to be a good person and be at the right place when you do implementation. All right, so what is the role of them? It's defining the how. Okay, what is the how? It's basically knowing how we will get the project done. Okay, so this is something this is something we'll do like as first phase before going live. So we'll be actually the one that will be making the configurations, doing all the functional part, let's say, with the client, of course, but it's not the client telling us how we should work. It's more like a collaboration, of course, but it's more us that will be bringing, okay, how should we get that done with Odoo, right? Then we have the client on the right side, okay? Again, three different things that the person needs. Can be one or more people, but so it needs to be project manager, so wanting to lead the project, all right? Business expert, does he or does she know the business they are operating? If you ask them, okay, how do you do money? Okay, how is this process going? How can we do this, that? How is the commercial department going and all of that? This person needs to be able to answer that. Of course, you can have multiple people there, not need like to have only one person, but yeah, let's make sure that you have this knowledge. Some people will say, okay, the CEO is always the person that is well placed for it then, but then the question is raising about like availability. Is the person available to work the project? As I mentioned, one of the main reasons of failing is that people are not always considering an ERP system implementation as a main project for a company, but more like a side project on the side. Okay, we need to work on that, but yeah, it's not really a priority. It is, all right? So let's make sure that we have someone that is available as well. Rating to the powerful needs to be able also to take some decisions and being able to say, okay, this is the way we'll be working, and I agree that my team will be working with that software. Okay, so let's make sure that the client in front of us has these capacities and is able like to give you this. They will be mostly focusing on the what and the why. So again, I remind you, so the integrator and service provider will define the how, but to get the how, of course, we need the what and the why. Okay, so the what is basically knowing the business, knowing exactly how it operates, and the why, it's also because we'll be challenging them. Okay, so is it really necessary and all of that? So these people need to be able to give this what and why. I mentioned it's two team, all right? Don't forget it's collaboration, okay? It's often just a small reminder you need to do like to your clients, just like, okay, we are guys on the same team. If you want the project to move forward, let's make sure that we are working hand in hand together to make this done, right? Then the mindset, because I mentioned the methodology, but I did not really spend much time on the mindset you need to have. So focus on the long-term vision. We have seen that already a lot, but this is something really important there. I mean, if they change their ERP system, it's not to change in a year or two, right? For commission, for you, it's not good. For clients, it's spending a lot of time, and for us as well, like commercial reasons as well. So yeah, definitely focus on the long term. That's the mindset we need to have. Then just make sure to understand what is the difference between something that the client will consider as a need, or like what we can consider sometimes as more as a nice to have. Okay, it's a really big trade-off we need to do here. The client will always say, okay, this is needed. The question you should ask is, okay, is it really blocking for a company to operate now, or today, or tomorrow, right? That's mostly the questions. Really make the effort to be able to make a trade-off between, okay, what is a real need, and so, okay, the company cannot operate without that, and it would be nice if you can have that. Of course, you will be then focusing mostly on what are the needs, okay? So that's, I guess, a bit logical, but yeah, that's the aim we have. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple. I won't go much more in details on that, but we have had lots of clients that are saying us like, okay, we are now changing the ERP system for a specific reason, is that now the system we are using is just unusable. We have so many things, we are completely lost in it. Just make sure that in 5 years, your clients will not say that to you and say, okay, I'm completely lost with my system. There's so many new things and all of that. So actually stay in standard as much as possible, when it is possible, of course, right? But just keep it simple and find workarounds. Kind of. That's the mindset. Of course, common sense prevails. So at some point, you will need developments. You will need to change a bit the system and the way it is, right? But just try to keep this in mind. All right, so we mentioned the roles, responsibilities, and the mindset. This is bringing me to the project phases. Again, so Nicola, I don't know, I mentioned him already before, but you can always review some talks from previous time of the day, also on YouTube. But Nicola mentioned a lot about the kickoff. So if you want to go a bit more deeper into say this, you can definitely watch the video. I'll just quickly cover a few topics here. But so the kickoff, then we have the implementation, then the go live, and finally second deployments. I should actually put an S here. Might have multiple deployments afterwards. Okay, so kickoff. What is the kickoff? It's basically the first meeting you will have your client when we talk about consulting services. Of course, you might have a lot of commercial discussions up front, okay, signing the project and all of that. But here at Odoo in the business services, most of the time on the kickoff, the client has already signed, and so now we'll basically having some goals, and the goals are here. So we mentioned 4 here. Nicholas was mentioning 3. Actually, the 2 and the 3rd here are quite together. So what is the purpose of the kickoff meeting? So the first meeting we'll have with the client as consultant. Basically, we need to get aligned on the methodology. So everything about the mindset, the responsibilities, and all of that, we need to make sure that the client is aware that this is the way we'll be working together. Okay? Again, don't take just this methodology, push it to the client, say, okay, is it good for you or not? Client will say yes. They will always say yes when it's just methodology because it can seem a bit boring at some point. So just make sure that you actually confirm that with the client. Are you available to take this? Do you have like a power of decisions inside the company? Can't we work on this? Do you have like any planning also in mind on your side? So really alignment with the client, defining how we'll be working together. Then the second phase of the kickoff is mostly like understanding the business and flows. Again, to repeat a bit, Nicholas, basically what we need to know is how is the company making money, basically, right? I mean, what are the daily operations? What do they do like on a daily task, let's say? What is the customer journey? I'm a client, I'm going to your place, but can you tell me what is the generic process? These are all the questions you should ask your client. One way you can do that is just, okay, show me how you work. That's easy one, right? Easy question. Show me templates, show me like quotations, show me the invoices, show me even like your warehouse. I need to go and see if you can go on site, please go. That's really the idea, is really to understand how the client is working. Okay. And then on the kickoff, we'll also make sure that we understand a bit what are the priorities for the client to be able to then define more of a scope and like potential phasing for later on. Remind you that we discussed that being on time and on budget, right? So on time, we need to define it as well. What are the deadlines? How can we actually make sure, contribute to arrive to this date on time, right? After the kickoff phase will be mostly the implementation, which will be the longest period of time, I would say, around the project. But we tend to work more in like MVP principle, which is more like the minimum viable product principle. I can actually resume that by saying, okay, we work in small cycles. The idea is not to do a big bang. That's what we call it. It's like, is it a big bang? Bad idea. What is a big bang? Is just, going all at once, the full package of Odoo directly to the client. Okay, it is delivered now. Just do your work and try to use the system in full. This is not really working, right? If you deliver everything at once, then the client will be lost. Sorry. The key user might find his way, right? But then people that have never seen Odoo, like you need the change from one day to another, okay, on the system, you're completely lost. So try to avoid having like big bang thing, right, and more working with small cycles. When I talk about cycles, I don't mean apps. We used to do a bit this thing here where we'll say, okay, we'll start first with the app sales and then invoicing, and then actually let's talk more about flows, like really flow, okay, maybe the commercial flow, then more inventory flow and all of that. So that's definitely the idea. Then for the implementation, just keep in mind again to lead the project. If one of the team, clients or the integrator is not moving forward, the project is not moving forward. If you don't do your to-dos and all of that, this is not working, right? So lead the project. Don't be just premium support for the client, answering some questions and saying, okay, maybe we could do this, this, and this. We have 3 options. Please choose. No, we will be the one, choosing the how. You remember, so we will be taking, okay, we have multiple options. The one we'll go for is this one. So really lead the project. That will be the real key behind having a successful project. Then, of course, we have client testing, okay? We have seen that most of the issues we have when we go live is just because people are not testing enough the project. for the system, right? So client testing really key as well on that point. I see some smiles here, so I'm pretty sure that this is something that already happened before, also for you. So make sure to make your client testing. Again, they are not pros at it. I mean, they change their ERP once every 10 years, and after Odoo, never again, maybe. So the idea is really like, okay, show them how they can test it, okay? Taking few scenarios, right? And then making sure that the system is working as it should be. After the implementation per se, again, we work in small cycles, right? We have the go-live phase. So what is the go-live phase? It's basically the moment where the client will be actively using Odoo. So it's also what we call it then going in production, sometimes if you read that at some points. So the go-live, it's really the moment when they switch from the older system or from no system at all to Odoo itself, all right? Again, can be on smaller cycles, and we'll actually recommend to do this on smaller cycles. What we need to point out here, it's a bit similar to client testing, right? But the training also is really important. Okay, this is working, but are the people enough trained to use the system? Okay, training matters, definitely. I mean, the key user you have in front of you, they know Odoo because you have been talking for 6 months maybe together to deploy Odoo, and so they know the configurations, all of that. But the final end users, like regular users of the system, do they know how to use it? If they don't, they will just break everything you have worked on, right? So make sure to have some trainings. Here at Odoo, we don't really do the training of the final users, I mean a bit less here in our general methodology. We mostly put that on the responsibility of the SPOC, so the single point of contact, let's say the person at the client side that is responsible of the project, right? Why do we do this that way? Mostly because they know their people better. I mean, they know the lexico, they know how they work, so they can also sometimes rely more on actual things from the field, right? If there is someone from an outside company, so us, saying, okay, you should work that way, to someone that has been there for 20 years, it will just sometimes even laugh at you, like, okay, I'm not doing this shit. So just make sure that actually the key and the spot will be doing the trainings. Relating to the go live, I mentioned is really the switch from the previous system to the new one. Set a specific date. Too often we don't set dates, and we just say, okay, should be live in a week or two. Okay, then the client's like, yeah, for the moment it's a bit hard, we have a lot to do, so that's not really something. If you don't put a date, again, this will be considered as a side project and not the main project of the company that will make the company make money, right? Or win some efficiencies and all of that. So set a specific date, create a momentum behind, right? Be on site if you can. Easy one, just won't explain much, but be on site. And then after the go live, it's more like the progress report. That's something we have now. Basically, it's just, okay, assessing how was the go live. Are the user using Odoo? How was the transition? What are the really good takeaways we can take from what we have done so far? If you have if you have encountered some issues and you say, okay, on the client side, not always testing, that's really an issue, but well, we'll see for later on. No, things won't change, right? So just put that again, like on the table, and make sure that you actually assess how was the go live, the first go live here. All right. Then we have second deployments. So it's most like we had the kickoff, implementation, the go live, and then it's more like, as we mentioned, we were working by phases, right? It will be just the next coming phases. So it could be either like new processes that you could implement. Let's imagine that we firstly covered the commercial flows, and now we are heading more to the warehouse management flows and all of that. Then, I mean, that could be kind of second deployment, of course. Again, small cycles to enable people to stay motivated as well, right? So that could be either a small cycle or also improving. Let's say that we had a small company and is scaling up a bit, then we can definitely also improve what we already had done before. And so that's a bit based on discussion and what is the plan and phasing for the project. What are the main challenges we have encountered? Actually, we have many challenges when we're doing ERP implementation, but that's also what is making the job super exciting. I'm excited to be here in Odoo Experience, but also like implementing project, right? We have a lot of different challenges, but here among the year, like at the business services in Belgium, I mean, the two main challenges I could find was mostly like the project velocity and developments. So velocity, what does it mean? Basically, it's just making sure that the project is moving forward and that we are delivering the project. If we start a project, know where it is now. I mean, it's not just, I don't know, if client's not entering much. So make sure to lead the project. Really, okay, we start a project. Let's try to finish it in 1 month, maybe in 2 weeks, even. That's really something we need to put a focus on. Again, be on time and on budget. Through the project velocity and leading the project, that's a really good way to find or path to the final success project or successful project. Then we have also development. Go for it if necessary. We tended to scare a bit people, and that's really the Odoo implementation methodology. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of partners in front of me. So yeah, I mean, it's good, the standard, but we definitely need some developments as well. I mean, we know it. Yeah, okay, of course, go for it if necessary, but don't overgo on this point. Again, keep it simple. Avoid having this wording from your clients in 5 years. Okay, it's getting too complicated for me. I can't follow let's say the database anymore. So just make sure that you go for it, but only if this is necessary and makes sense for the project as a whole. Trading off between, okay, is it a need, nice to have, and also, okay, what is the added value compared to the cost it takes, right? Developments and all that. Then the main and key takeaway we can have from that, I'll just repeating a bit the same sentence I had used at the beginning of the talk, but just let's keep the project on time and on budget. We know that implementing Odoo and any other ERP system is really complex. You need to have a lot of Odoo knowledge and all of that, but not only. I remind you, like leading the project per se, having a lot of different aspects, like making sure that everyone is taking the responsibilities and all of that will actually ensure you to get your project on time and on budget. This is quite ending my talk here. If you want to discover a bit more on that, we have actually revamped the previous book we had. So there is a new version out since July 24. So this book, you can find it normally at the booth, Test or Services, or at the Lab Odoo in the hall 7, right? In the back, basically, of the hall 7. And then, if you now have some Q&As and questions for me, I'll be happy to help you. I think we have 3 minutes to answer these questions. But again, I'll be also remaining available at the booth, Test or Services.
Thank you, Valentin, for your presentation. Really interesting one. We are running a bit out of time, so we will have a couple of questions to answer. Just the first one: how do you deal with decision makers who are not available on time, or at least in time they are not attending the procedure?
Yeah, so again, like this is really something, so we discussed a bit the roles and responsibilities, okay? On the client side, they need to be available and powerful and all of that. You need to make sure that the person do have some time. If the person in front of you doesn't have any time, I mean, it's maybe worth sometimes asking yourself, okay, is it the right spot? Is it the right person in front of me? Should I continue working with this person specifically, or maybe someone else, or getting help from someone else from the company? If you don't have time, the project won't move. Again, don't consider this as a side project. It's really one of the main projects of the company, changing ERP, because everyone will be using this, so impacting every department.
Okay, and last one, how do you deal with clients that ignore the testing phase?
Actually, we have many clients ignoring the testing phase. Maybe the first thing is more like prevention and saying, okay, so how do you feel about getting live tomorrow? And saying, okay, this is exactly the way like everyone in your company will start working. Do you feel on ease or not? Most of the time, the answer is no. Okay, why? Because they haven't tested enough. And so you can always, bump into this and say, okay, this is really important. What do you deal with them is mostly if you want to help them a bit, maybe it's just creating a bit of scenarios based on what you have seen with them, understanding a bit the way they work, and so creating a bit some scenarios and saying, okay, just go for it and try to go a bit further. If you need, you can also definitely go on site. Here in front of me, Amélie that actually did this, saying really going on site with the client because they were basically not testing at all the system. By being on site, you definitely make sure that this is happening as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys, and again, available.